Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington's on assignment, so we'll see if he will appear for 500 because we are at episode 499. It's getting tight. I'm getting a little nervous, Charles. Is he gonna show up for number 5?
That's a great question. That remains to be seen. Let's see if Mike pops in for the big number 500.
Wow. Welcome to episode 499 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, radio show and podcast, a show that is covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. It's just Charles Bishop and I, as Mike Washington's out on assignment, as I said. We're filming from our home studios and sitting a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting data analytics. With that being said, Charles, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. We are officially post-basketball now. Now all basketball games have been played. Now it's up for the spring sports. We got SWAC Golf Championship. We got SWAC Tennis Championship coming up in the next couple of weeks. We got a bunch of things coming forward in the next few weeks with regards to the spring sports. So looking forward to it. We've moved into, I guess, that fourth quarter, if you will, of the sports season here for this year.
We are truly into the spring sporting season. So it'll be interesting to see as we come up with it, as you start getting people and their ADs and fans start adding up the all commissioner points and see what they look like overall as a conference. So department, it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. We had some big matchups this past weekend.
Yeah.
We'll get in maybe a little of those second part of the show. As my understanding, there was going to be a Jackson State and Grambling matchup tonight, interdivisional matchups, but it was rained out. Yeah. So I was looking forward for that matchup. I thought it would have been interesting to see where those two clubs would be at this time in terms of how they've been playing of late. But fascinating when you get into baseball, softball is there. Great contests, road games, home games, fans getting out there, little track and field. As you said, some spring championships with golf. Fascinating in tennis as well to see what that looks like. With that being said, let's just jump into some news of the day. Which direction are you going, Charles?
Well, let's close out on some basketball, but big news this past weekend is Alabama A&M. They made news this past weekend as Dawn Thornton. She became the head women's basketball coach. Alabama A&M's University President Dr. Daniel K. Wims and Director of Athletics Dr. Paul Bryan introduced on Saturday Dawn Thornton as the 5th head coach for the women's basketball team since becoming a member of the SWAC and joining NCAA Division I. Thornton comes to Alabama A&M after spending the past 5 seasons as head coach at UAPB. So seismic shift, if you will, with Dawn Thornton going from UAPB to Alabama A&M. Doc?
Yeah, I see a lot of people pretty excited about that move. Surprising some folks. I heard the rumbling. I heard some other folks that were in the mix going down to the final. It's always intriguing when you see programs looking for a head coach. You have your lead candidates and you hear those behind the scene names, and you always try to wonder what it looks like. But for Don, I think it's a significant move. Alabama A&M in terms of resources. When you look at a new facility, certainly another chance to really be able to get in the athletes that's necessary to win a championship. And at this time, that means fasting Jackson State. Obviously, we're hearing what's going on there, but no indications much is going to change in Jackson. But it's kind of fascinating to see what that looks like, how this goes for the basketball landscape. So we'll keep our eyes open. Now you have UAPB out on the search. So it's going to be interesting to see who they get to replace Coach Don Thornton and see where UAPB decides to go in terms of their women's.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And in addition to Don Thornton going from UAPB to Alabama A&M, now Zay Green, one of their leading scorers, is now entered the transfer portal. So we'll see where this UAPB women's basketball program goes from here.
Certainly not surprising that she went in the transfer portal. The question everybody wants to know is she going to go to Alabama A&M, follow the coach, or is she heading somewhere else? She obviously said that she was coming back, which a lot of people were excited about. But sounds like she's still planning to play collegiate basketball. But now the question is, will she take a name out of transfer portal and come back to UAPB, or will she find herself, as they say in that parts, up on the hill, literally moving up the road, if you would, in that vernacular. So intriguing about that move. I want to talk about the third annual HBC All-Star Game. Was a success in just about every measure. Got a chance to watch it on television, and you talking about the cultural experience that you see from fans that were able to take it on, and they showed out again. Very entertaining in terms of what that looked like. Team Wallace was down at halftime, but found a way to get it done. Really excited for the young men. Team Wallace head coach Johnny Jones commenting on his post-game interview. I thought both teams played extremely hard. I thought it was a great show for the fans. Back to the day, I thought the guys did a much better job of sharing the basketball in the second half, locking in on the defensive end and taking chance opportunities on the offensive end. I thought it was a big difference in the game. Bethune-Cookman's guard, LaShawn Dyson, was named the game's MVP with 17 points, connecting 5 times from beyond the arc, showing out his skills there. Quote, I felt good actually bringing the HBCU culture to Phoenix, going out there to compete for the SWAC and finally beat the MEAC. So it was great, end quote, by Dyson. I really have to give kudos to the event. I saw a couple of pictures. They do a great job, Instagram and other places showing out. But it took the case when you saw the suits and they're coming into the arena and they had the logo of the university that they're a member of in terms of that event. So I thought it was big time. Shout out to Kyle Mosley doing a story on that. Great information as he showed out and provided. So you can go check out Kyle Mosley in terms of his HBCU Sports Illustrated to go a little deeper dive in the story because he has some great information there.
Yeah, 7,100 fans.
What did you say?
That's 7,100 fans at that game in the midst of the NCAA Women's Championship. So kudos, Travis Williams. Great turnout for this event, for this postseason event. So really enjoyed it.
Imagine when you give the people what they want, what happens. I mean, you had a packed house last year in Houston and Texas Southern. So looks like they're doing good. Hearing some rumbling, they might even add on to it. Obviously, it'd be fascinating to see what it looks like with the contract extensions, but you saw the CBS president was there, so you'd have to believe every indication that things are going well. Question is, do they add the women's side of it, and what would that look like? That might be a possibility. I know first going into this, the plan was to make sure that the men's side basketball grounded it and was able to get going. And at some point, they did want to add women, so it'll be fascinating to see if that's the time to see where that goes. With that being said, I'm going to shoot back to you, see what other direction you want to go in for some additional news of the day.
Well, I do want to make light of Alabama State, Florida A&M, and Jackson State. They all claim a share of the SWAC women's tennis regular season title. Alabama State, FAMU, and Jackson State each claimed a share of the 2024 SWAC women's tennis title, each with identical 8-1 records as they go into the SWAC championship for tennis. That'll be April 19th through the 21st at City Park Tennis Center located in New Orleans. So let's take a look at the bracket as it's set up today. April 19th, you'll have number 4 Southern versus number 6 Alabama A&M. Number 3 Jackson State will take on number 5 Prairie View. On the 20th, you have match 3, which is FAMU versus the winner of match 1, which was Southern Alabama A&M. And then on the 20th, you'll have Alabama State take on the winner of match 2, which is Jackson State versus Prairie View. So the women's tennis championship will be played April 21st. So women's tennis championship coming up pretty soon.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I like this. This was a great story to see. Tuskegee's going to ball and parlay under the lights at its athletic venue. You saw this on the social media platform from the AD. Reginald Ruffle continues to get things done at Tuskegee University. Is quoted as saying, "We're really excited about the new light system on all 3 outdoor fields," which is a big, you're not just talking about football, but baseball and softball. They're able to do the fundraising and get it done. And that is a significant steps. Now you can have some night games. It's always good to see baseball played at night. And when you talk about the historical connection with the Negro League and they actually turning on the car lights to be able to play at night or finish a game. And then what's better than having some football at night as well under the lights. So it'll be fascinating to see what goes on at Cleve Abbott Stadium. A long time in the making for a lot of folks, but renovations to James B. Washington Field, a culmination of a project that began back in 2016, 4 years after the field was deemed unplayable. And the Tuskegee baseball team had to move home games to Patterson Field in Montgomery. So you got updates to the baseball field. You have the turf out there they put on the football field. So a lot of good things are going on Tuskegee. What do you say about that, Charles?
That's going to be pretty cool. Night football at Tuskegee. I mean, they already have one hell of a fan base, it turns out, for them now, but it's different when you play it at night. That's just a little different atmosphere. So I'm looking forward to taking a little trip down there to Tuskegee, Doc, and see what we can get into down there. It'd be pretty fun. Yeah,
it'd be really fun. I know when I first moved to Alabama, coming out of school, taking my first job, project engineering in North Alabama, actually Huntsville. In the Huntsville greater area there. Fascinating. Got a chance to go down that first year and visit Tuskegee. Saw all the history there. Got a chance to see a game, boy. I have to give them credit. Nothing like that. Homecoming, you know how big that is, but that's
it is.
Across the landscape special. But I'm hearing they're in the mix. You know, they play Alabama State, but I hear a chance that they may want to take the show on the road against
the
FCS program. So it's interesting to see if they can make that happen and see what that looks like.
No doubt about it. Like you said, hearing some rumbles about them wanting to take the show on the road. So we'll see what happens with this Tuskegee football team. Big things coming for the Golden Tigers.
Yeah, when D. Moore puts the question out there, I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. He said, are they making moves to move to the FCS level? I will say it's certainly something that the AD is really putting his team and preparing for if the opportunity presents itself. Reginald Ruffin, but that's always a president and board question. They've had some changes at the board, but it'd be interesting because we got a quote here: "The decision to illuminate the 3 athletic fields is a testament to President Charlotte Morrison and the Tuskegee University Board of Trustees' unwavering commitment to enhance the students' experience." That's the COO, VP of Student Affairs, Rolandus Rice. So fascinating to see what that may mean in terms of that. We see all the churning that I talk about in terms of the conference framework. It wouldn't surprise me one bit that you see that. Obviously, early on the talk was Morehouse. You heard a little thing maybe about Clark Atlanta, Tuskegee. Miles has had some talk out there. So it'll be fascinating to see what this really looks like and what this means. Took a trip down history lane, if you would, in regards to that, posting in some of our platforms as we were talking about Langston as they were going for their championship to go back. And you see these little shorts that I've seen on YouTube that talks about the changing landscape and what would happen if a school had moved into another conference at a different date. That's one of those questions for Langston, where back in 2004, I should say, they were looking at whether they should move out of the NIA and join the SWAC or the SIAC ultimately they got the vote and started the move to join the SIAC back then. After the presidents from the SIAC supported them and agreed to that move, but a change in the president came in and decided, nope, they're going to stay at the NIA level, as they were partnering with Lincoln, Missouri to move up to the SIAC Division II. Lincoln, Missouri stayed Division II, but decided not to join the SIAC. Last thing quickly before I take the first break, come back on the other side. Tennessee State, I have to put this
on. Oh, man.
Legend Dick Barnett finally gets his call for the Basketball Hall of Fame. I was so excited to see this.
Yeah.
Tennessee State, great job. They put a picture with several of his teammates getting a chance to take a trip to the White House, finally getting their dues for their championship. Big deal. More than 50 years after his final NBA game, Dick Barnett will finally make the place along basketball greats in Springfield, Massachusetts. Barnett, an HBCU basketball icon who was the best known for his time with the New York Knicks, was announced as part of the Basketball Hall of Fame's 2024 induction class on Saturday. Born in Gary, Indiana, Barnett at Tennessee A&I College, now Tennessee State, under head coach John McClendon. He helped lead the Tigers to 3 straight NIA championships from 1957 to 1959. Barnett was also the 3-time Associate Press Small College All-American before being drafted by the Syracuse Nationals in 1959 NBA draft. Barnett played for 2 years with the Nets, 1 year with the Cleveland Pipers in the Forgotten American Basketball League, and 3 years of the Los Angeles Lakers before joining the Knicks in 1965. Barnett was a veteran presence on a team that featured young stars Willis Reed of Grambling, Walt Clyde Frazier, and Bill Bradley, providing instant offense with his left leg kicking jumper he calls the fallback baby. Barnett's cool demeanor and quick shooting was a part of the Knicks' glory years, including NBA championship in 1970. In 1973, after retiring in 1973, Barnett's number 12 was retired by the Knicks. Barnett and his Tennessee A&I teammates were inducted in the Hall of Fame, a team in 2019 as a team. So fascinating. It was great to hear that honors. With that being said, we'll take a first break, come back on the other side, and get some more information about HBCU sports. Stick with us. We'll be back after this break.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. working on next part of the interview. We're looking at getting some things going here. Let's see if we can get things going and talk a little bit about what's taking place in the mix here. Charles, when you're working through the process, a little bit about the big time baseball games that happened this weekend in the SWAC. What were your thoughts in terms of those matchups? Obviously, Prairie View took on Grambling State. Grambling State went down to Prairie View, got two, but Prairie View was able to get the third one. But the other big game that may have surprised some folks is that UAPB went down to the Bluff and ended up getting 2 out of 3, including the game on Friday and Saturday. I want to get a little mix of that. What are your thoughts in terms of what happened there in those matchups?
Well, I think that was a game that was a series that really turned everybody's heads because I had to kind of do a double take to see UAPB. They were able to take the series against Southern, and you were talking about a Southern team that was probably as hot as any team coming into that series. Huge win over LSU. They had won a series prior, and then for UAPB to go down to Baton Rouge and take 2 of 3 from the Jaguars, that's saying something about Carlos James' team. So, and they have one of the top hitters in the league in terms of what he's been able to do with Edwin De La Cruz. So I was curious to see kind of what went into it. What went into getting that 2 of 3 from the Southern Jaguars.
With that being said, there also the big matchup that I was looking at as you talk about going into the game was the fact that Jackson State was going down to Daytona Beach. And Bethune-Cookman was able to get 2 out of 3. They had a big comeback on Saturday where for most of that game, as I happened to be following it, they were controlling Bethune-Cookman, controlling the bats. And it wasn't until late in the 9th inning that they gave up 3 crucial runs, actually maybe 4 in that inning where Jackson State was not able to hold on to the lead. Bethune-Cookman got the win. But then on Sunday, they really took it to them. The bats got going. And they did get one of those games, and it's intriguing. I want to get your thoughts on that, and then a follow-up in terms of baseball in the SWAC when the team hits the roads.
Well, I think the big thing is going into that last game, Bethune-Cookman, Jackson State, they had lost 5 in a row until their bats seemingly woke up on that final day there. But like you mentioned, that was a huge win, huge comeback win for Bethune-Cookman on Saturday. On Saturday, it looked as though Jackson State had control of that game until Bethune-Cookman in the late innings put up a 4th spot, I believe, and was able to take that game. Heartbreaking for Jackson State Tigers, but they were able to bounce back on Sunday. But it's tough. You try to get some road wins and try to take a series or 2 while you're on the road. But it's a tough go on the SWAC, and as we've seen throughout now, Doc, we're starting to see kind of that parity kind of come into play in terms of just looking at these series and not knowing week to week what's going to happen.
So let's take our next break. We'll come back on the other side, and with that, we'll be able to see if we can get Carlos James. We'll bring him in. That's the UAPB head baseball coach. We'll get him to talk about taking 2 out of 3 from Southern, and then we'll get back into some more baseball talk after that interview.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone's con. See you there.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
Good afternoon, Coach Carlos James. Welcome to Inside the Lab. It's good to have you. You on mute. We can't hear you on this side. Yeah, it's probably the connections with your headphones. Coach James?
Yeah, we'll try to get you back in here, Coach.
See, that's what happens when you had that nice equipment there. We'll bring him right back in once he logs back in. He'll probably come in without the headphones. But the question I was going to ask you as we look into this is, with the competitiveness of the SWAC is the way I want to see it, is when you hit the roads, how important is it to at least get a game? At one time, you'd like to get the sweep or whatever, and certainly would like to get 2 out of 3 as much as you saw UAPP, the Golden Lions, go down to Bluff to do that. But in terms of Jackson State getting a game against Bethune-Cookman on the road, talk a little bit of your thoughts in terms of what it means to get a game like that.
It's actually, I hope, hopefully, it's a confidence builder for Jackson State, especially when you take a look at, like I said, just getting able to get one. They had lost 5 in a row going into that last game, so I think it was huge that not only did the Bats show up, but they showed out 19 runs. So I think that was huge for Jackson State just from a confidence standpoint going forward.
That being said, let's try this again. Coach James.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. See, that's what happened. You got that fancy equipment down there at UABB. You gotta work with us now.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with this stuff, man.
That makes 2 of us. But you do know what you're doing on the baseball field, particularly this past weekend. We'll get into a little conversation, but it was the big news of the weekend. Obviously, your team swinging some bats a couple of weeks ago, put up all the runs against Alcorn State, the Braves. But they go to the road, and people that have followed this league for years knows traditionally that it's challenged when you go to Baton Rouge, to Bluff. But the fact that you're able to get 2 games, especially after you lose the first one and bounce back. Talk a little bit about what it meant for your team to go down there and battle with the Southern Jaguars, and more importantly, get 2 out of the 3 wins.
Well, I think it was huge for us in a confidence type matter because we've had some wins throughout the season, but we hadn't had what we call a signature win, that win that lets you know that you belong. And to go down to Baton Rouge, and like you said before, it's so hard to win down there regardless. I mean, I don't care what type of team you have. It's just tough to win in there. I guess it's the spirit of Po Ben and all that pageantry that they have there. That it's just hard to get out of there with a victory. But our kids did a really good job of going down there on a mission, to try to have to prove something. And as a coach, I saw it like all year long. Those first 2 series against Grambling and Prairie View, they didn't quite sure know if they belonged. And then we took a thumping. I think we played a couple of close games, but it wasn't a talent. I don't think it was just the confidence. And then we kind of got rolling there after losing that first game to Alcorn, and then it just kind of took off from there. And then to get down to Southern, they vowed that they were just going to fight every inning, every pitch, and that's what they did, and end up, fighting back after. The first game, we got down 13. I think it was like 13-5 going into the 7th inning. And then we fought back only to lose 13-11, but we had guys on base, even during that time. So it carried over to the next day. And, the rest was history. They did a great job.
Charles, go ahead and follow up with a couple of questions.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask this because Doc and I, we've been talking about the hitting in this league. And you are the top hitting team in this league. You're hitting 315. Your team is hitting 315. But just, I guess, talk about you guys' approach to the plate. And we've just seen some double-digit scores week in, week out. But you guys are pounding the ball.
Well, it's one of those things. Is like this. Hitting is contagious. When you guy that's leading the nation in hitting, it kind of bleeds over off on everybody, because and it also brings positive energy because everybody's rooting for Eddie De La Cruz to keep hitting, right? So when you're rooting like that and you got that positive energy going, it's just been spreading through the team. It's come to a point to where me as a coach, I was calling them selfish at the beginning of the year. So sometimes taking a walk or swinging at pitches out of the zone, but here lately they've been very unselfish by passing the bat. If one guy don't do it, he get on base, the next guy does it. And I'm proud of them for finally coming together like that. How hard it is these days to get our youngsters to understand the concept of team and giving of for the greater good. So I think they really did a good job, but I think it really starts with Edwin. I mean, you got a guy that everybody's rooting for, and it just kind of like, I mean, we brought guys off the bench. We had a guy, Van Manning, that pinch hit in that game, hit a grand slam. It's like it's just every button you pushing right now, hitting wise, is work. And then for us, we've been building the swing for probably the whole spring since we started playing, just trying to build our swings to be able to cover the whole part of the ballpark. They've been doing a good job of left-handers going to left field, right-handers going to right field and using a big part of the park. So it's been paying off for them.
And let me follow up on that, because when you say build swing, well, I mean, what exactly do you mean when you're trying to build a team swing?
Yeah, what we started at is trying to go, opposite field for the guys, and hit things hard on the ground. Nowadays everybody's getting paid to teach that uppercut swing, which is striking out a lot of people. But our guys, they have finally kind of like bought in, to what we kind of prescribe into, hey, stay on top of the ball, go the other way, everything up the middle on the ground, and if we're going to pull anything, it's just going to be out of reaction anyway. So they pretty much bought into it. And like I said, don't help having the best hitter in the country to add to that. But all of them seems to have really caught on to building that swing and making sure that they can touch every part of that plate, whether it's up, down, in, or out, just going with the pitch where it's pitched at. And we've been having a lot of success with it.
You mentioned Edwin De La Cruz, leading hitter in the country. He's batting .531. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw it, I thought, well, maybe he's played 5 or 6 games. No, it's legit .531. But just what is he doing at the plate? What is it that you see that you're loving from him? Because he is just killing the ball right now.
Well, the game slowed down for him. It just happens sometime. And anybody's played some ball before, you had those days where the game slowed down. It's like you're playing in slow motion. For some of us, it happens like in a game or during a period of time. For him, this didn't happen for the whole year. Everything. You could tell how calm he is. And the best thing you could notice by a hitter that's going good is his takes. When balls are out of the zone, his body just shuts down. It just like shut down. He knows that's a ball. And then anything in the zone, he just kind of lightning fast, like bam, So it's like he's playing in the Matrix right now. It's just slow for him. And like I say, it has bled over to the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Wanted to follow up and take you back a little bit before we talk a little bit about some key players. And we'll do that if you're able to stay around after a quick break. But I wanted to ask you, scheduling-wise, I've noticed traditionally you played a very tough schedule, pretty much a full D1 schedule, which is always fascinating to me. But this year I noticed that in the first weekend you have some of these teams that are fortunate to play in the Cactus Jack Classic or MLB HBCU classes those first couple of weeks. But you did a series with Alabama A&M and Coach Elliott Jones. I really was fascinated about that. I like that scheduling philosophy. Can you tell me a little bit about what that looks like? We talked to him before the season started up, and he said you'll play a series there and then vice versa in terms of what it looks like.
Yeah, one of the things is just because in our conference we don't get a chance to play the other side as much. We thought it would be a good idea to kind of match up during the year. You just never know what type of information you can gain as you go forward through the season, trying to get ready for the tournament. At least you've seen somebody on that side that you can kind of compare with the teams that they're playing with, so you can have some type of idea of scouting. And, so, and then plus, Elliot and I are really good friends. Actually, I would say I was supposed to recruit him out of high school because I had his brother. But he's in the Southern, and we've always had a big brother, little brother relationship. So I try to make sure that we play each other, and it's more like learning. It was sort of like what Coach Kadar did for me when I came in the league. Him and Coach Ellis at Grambling. Just we playing against each other, but you kind of schooling the other guy, because sooner or later, your time gonna come when you go out to leave, and he's gonna be the elder statesman in the league, and you want to be able to keep the league progressing. Even though we compete against each other, we want to have the best league that we can have. So. I like to spend those times playing teams like Alabama A&M. We had Valley on there because we had coach that's now in Miles. He and I was good friends. So we just try to play those games. Even like if you look at our schedule, Arkansas Baptist, it's a friend of mine that's over that team as well. So you just try to play them and give them some experience, and teach some lessons and bounce some things off of them and let them see how we kind of run things too. And just to kind of help young coaches grow.
I really appreciate that, talking about giving back to the game in different ways. We would like for you to stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, come back on the other side and get a little more and talk about some key players from the Golden Lions that are helping pushing you through this year. Stay tuned. We'll come right back after this next break.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em. It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, clean bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Pills inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. With that being said, we have none other than head baseball coach at UAPB, Carlos James. Before we get into some of those players that we want to keep our eyes on for those that are maybe not following baseball at the level we do, I want to ask you a question in terms of the expansion. You've been with the conference back in 2011, coach of the year back in 2013. So you've seen a lot through the years in terms of baseball in the SWAC and post-SWAC, I should say post-expansion and pre-expansion. Just give me your general thoughts in terms of where SWAC baseball is at this time and how it has changed after the conference expanded from 10 schools, 5 in each division, not playing across the division, to now 12 teams and 6 in each division.
I think it was huge, the addition of Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M. You know, both of those programs got a rich history of winning, you know, in the MEAC. And also it increased the footprint for the SWAC and baseball. And, you know, baseball in the South is huge. And I think it made our conference so much better with adding those two teams. Actually, I would think it gave our conference a boost. If they really rated us right, we would be ahead of some of those other mid-major conferences that, you know, they tend to put in front of us. Because I think I know our baseball is better. I mean, you could just look at the scores when we play them. I think our guys do a really good job across the board, from Houston all the way to Florida. And, you know, just that recruiting footprint has been huge, you know, and that allows us now, the previous expansion teams, to be able to go into Florida and those places and get kids. Because now, you know, like to go to school where they live, you know, but maybe want to stay in the same conference. Well, now I may get a kid from Florida, you know, because he knows I may get a chance to play back home once, but I'm still in the SWAC, you know. So I'm hoping that it continues to expand again. I mean, my dream would be to see Tennessee State come in, and then maybe somebody like Morehouse or Tuskegee come in to the conference to make it even bigger, you know. And I think that those schools could bring really good baseball teams into the SWAC as well.
There's a lot of folks that follow you out there, particularly Tennessee State fans. They hear about, and there's been some rumbling about them bringing back baseball. So the fact they would join the SWAC with baseball, you probably make a lot of them happy. And particularly when you talk about Morehouse, Tuskegee, bringing in lights for their facility, Clark Atlanta playing some good baseball over it, even Albany State in terms of what they've been able to do, Savannah State at Edward Waters. It would be fascinating if you talked about conference expansion.
Yeah,
and what that would do to even the depth of the conference. So I like that.
Yeah, I also think like
Go ahead.
Tennessee State would be a gold mine. I mean, in that area, there's for them to be in Nashville, you know.
Give us a little more. You know something that we don't know. Talk to us.
I shouldn't talk too much because if they open up, I may want to try to call them. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
I can't tell you the secrets, but I
tell you all the secrets. Yeah. We'll have to have that off the air behind the mic. We'll make sure.
Yeah,
but tell us what you can.
Tennessee State would be a fantastic place for baseball. I mean, it's even, you know, they're looking into expansion and even into Major League Baseball there in Nashville. That area. So, I mean, it's a hotbed up in there, but it's just that there's no HBCUs really close, you know, to the up in that area. Because if you get to Tennessee State, you got to think about you're gonna be able to pull kids out of that Ohio Valley area, the kids up north, Chicago. You know, it would for teams like mine, Grambling, Southern. We may not like that too much because a lot of those kids we getting out of that area up there, they won't have to go as far, you know. So Tennessee State would be wise to have a baseball team. And I think they'd be very good. I mean, you could reach down into Atlanta easily. You know, that's all I'm going to tell y'all because y'all going to be to somebody else.
Hey, we just sit here reading into your comments, Coach.
Yeah. If anybody's listening, they got to know I get first right of refusal, you know.
Absolutely.
School I'm at, but I did come up with a plan, you know. So I just want to get paid off my plan.
No doubt. And I want to hear the plan too because I like the strategy, and when we get into that. With that, let's get back to some of those key players. Really would be Reeves if we have a chance to talk about some of the stellar players you have. Obviously, we talked about the key hitter in terms of what he's doing at the plate. But what are some other guys getting it done over there?
Actually, we got a freshman. We got a couple of freshmen that are actually starting. Our second baseman, Malachi Jeffries, that's out of the Atlanta, Georgia area, man, is hitting like 375, something like that. I mean, he's got to get better with his fielding. But for a kid to come in as a freshman and play as many games as he has, and to keep that average up, and he's been doing great. We got another kid out of the Bronx, New York, named Darius Brown, that plays left field, freshman. I think he's hitting 333 right now. He's done a wonderful job out there in left field. Then we had a grad transfer that was from Pine Bluff, our right fielder, which is Jalen Williams. He came from the old school that I used to coach at Arkansas Monticello, and he came back home to do his last year. He's been swinging back pretty good. I think he's like a 297, right at 100. Our center fielder is from Chicago, Gavin Terry. I think he's our unquestionable leader. He always gets us fired up and gets us going. He's a fearless guy, kind of loud. Chicago kid though, but he's tough. But he's hitting. I think he's like 365 or something like that. Left-handed hitter. You can't take him out of the lineup. He's going to do everything you need to do, on the field to be successful. Then at first base, we've been platooning some guys there at first, from Brandon Simon, which is the graduate, Jacoby Jackson, and then Ben Van Manning, which, I told you he's the guy that came in, and I think he's hitting like 360. And we're not even playing him that much because he also pitches. So, but he comes in and hit a grand slam, and helped us out. And then our third baseman, which was originally when we first started the season, our shortstop, Jalen Nowlin, has now moved over to third base. He's a transfer from Butler. And he started out kind of rough. And here lately, he's been swinging the bat pretty well. I think he's up around 360. So those guys right there, they stand out to me. And they've given us some stability, because at the beginning of the season, like I told you, we played Graham and Prairie View. We didn't really know who we were, and we was trying to figure it out with different lineups and things like this. But over the last couple of weeks, we've had a consistent lineup, and they've gelled together well.
Good stuff there. Charles, any last follow-up question you want to ask?
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to follow up on on a direction you were talking about, especially when we talk about the expansion of the SWAC and looking at Bethune-Cookman and FAMU coming into the conference. But I'm just curious, are there recruiting hotspots that that we can go get players that'll play at our various HBCU schools within the geographic footprint? But just, are there places, you mentioned Atlanta, you mentioned Nashville would be an area if Tennessee State ever came into the conference, but are there just recruiting hotspots where they play great baseball over here in this area, in this area, in this area?
Oh, you got to start with Atlanta right now. And then definitely Florida, that area. There's some really good baseball players in Louisiana too. They try to hide them all down there, but they got players over there. And then if you want to go the JUCO route, you could just go over to Mississippi. If you want to get 1,000 JUCO kids that you can get, that's going to be able to come into the league and do well. I mean, look at Jackson State. They do well because they're in a great area. Even though Omar's a great recruiter as well, but he gets kids out of Miami, Mississippi. He right there in his backyard. So there's a lot of really good places, and I know that everybody will say Texas, but I think to me it's harder to get African American players out of Texas than anywhere because you got so many of those big P5s that a lot of those guys they get noticed, in that area. So. I would say those spots are good with Atlanta, that Atlanta area being the hottest place right now. I mean, if they had any HBCU, and you could start a baseball program, you would probably be in the top 2 immediately.
Interesting. Very interesting.
You heard it right here, Coach Carlos James. Like he said, he's wrote a plan. Call him with his plan. He just wants a little rights, that's all. Yes.
I think a lot of our programs in the SWAC could be very good and challenge, some of the top, at least mid-major programs on a daily basis if the administrations would put money into it, because they all think baseball is not a revenue-drawing sport, and I can tell you now it is. You got schools that's getting $2 million just off of their press box area, seating. So there's money in it, and I think some AD somewhere is going to be smart enough, and I ain't calling them dumb, but I'm going to say smart enough to say we're going to be known for something here at this HBCU, and they're going to put some money into baseball, and you'll have an HBCU that's going to be in the top 25 probably every year.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
I like that. It makes sense in terms of if
who
invest in the program, you get the money back.
A place like Tennessee State, man.
Go ahead.
A place like Tennessee State. They have the money.
Hey,
they have
we'll see what out there. I'm gonna call Dr. Mickey Allen over there and say, Allen, what you doing? You gotta bird.
Coach, you dropping some great breadcrumbs. I like that.
Yeah. Nice place to live.
With that being said, appreciate your time. I know it's extremely busy. Appreciate you carving out and giving it to us. We'll be following you rest of the season as things continue to go. We love to have you back. We'll be in there, Atlanta. Hope to see you out there. Get a chance to talk with you a little more about baseball, and maybe we get a chance to take a deeper dive and just have a show on the plan. What the plan looks like.
I'm gonna be like Beyonce, maybe a cowboy song or something out of Nashville.
Steve will be right back after this break. Y'all heard it here first. We just bring you the news.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. A great interview with Coach Carlos James. Went in so many different directions, dropping nuggets in all kinds of ways. So fascinating there, Charles. Might be something there with Tennessee State, just saying.
He brought up a very interesting school there in terms of what Tennessee State could bring to the geographic footprint of the SWAC, not just with baseball, but with those other two sports as well. That is a pretty dynamic program potentially sitting out there. So.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. With that being said, let's talk a little bit about this past weekend in terms of the games that took place. Just get your thoughts in terms of that. This past week, obviously, you had those week matchups starting with Friday. You had some matchups with Alabama A&M getting it done against Mississippi Valley 14-4. You had Grambling taking it to Prairie View 19-3. FAMU getting it done against Alabama State. I know that's one that you really had your eyes on.
Mm-hmm.
They beat them 10-2. You had Texas Southern, 7-inning game there. They beat up on Alcorn State 20-1 in that matchup. Southern wins that first game coming out against Pine Bluff 13-11. And then you had Bethune-Cookman winning a good matchup against Jackson State 6-2. I'll come back and give you these Saturday matchups before I ask you some thoughts, and then we'll close with that final matchup where things went on Sunday. But on Saturday, you had a much closer game between the Braves and the Tigers with Texas Southern win 8-3. This was in Houston McGregor Park. FAMU continues to get it done against Alabama State Hornets 9-4 as they are playing some really good baseball there at home in Tallahassee, particularly with Morris Kittle Field getting it done there. Grambling had a high-scoring game where Prairie View, I was at that game on Saturday getting in after checking out the game on Friday with the Braves there in Houston. But Grambling brought out the Baps 14-12. You keep noticing that they've scored over 13 games in their last 7 SWAC ball games, which is amazing. With that being said, they lost 2 of them. So those Sunday third pitchers, they all continue to hit, but they give up a little more on that side where they lost their third game to Texas Southern a couple of weeks ago, and then this past Sunday to Prairie View. I'm interested in your thoughts on that as well. Alabama A&M loses to Mississippi Valley. They get a win there in Bulldog Baseball Field there, winning 14-8 in Lomo, as they like to say in that part instead of Huntsville. Southern loses to Arkansas Pine Bluff, lose big, 17-8. And then Jackson State loses Bethune-Cookman. That's the game I told you that they came from behind. The Wildcats got it done 6-5. Before I go to the Sunday scores, give me your thoughts in terms of those Friday, Saturday matchups.
Well, I immediately go to Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M. And you, like you said, you look to those Friday matchups. Normally the Ace is going on that Friday night. And another great outing. Caleb Granger for FAMU held those Jackson State bats at bay. Only 2 runs for, held Alabama State's bats at bay. Tremendous outing for Caleb Granger. He's 5-2 thus far in the year. And we talked with Coach Hernandez about Tanner Bocabello with Bethune-Cookman. He kept Jackson State's bats at bay. 8 hits spread out over 9 innings, only 2 runs, but he's 4-0 on the season. So I always pay attention to those Friday night matchups in terms of sort of getting a feel for the series, and it's always great when a team gets off on a Friday night in terms of getting that momentum going into the weekend. So FAMU, tremendous job. They've been the beast of the East thus far, but Bethune-Cookman right there on their tail in terms of what they've been able to get done. But those 2 series in particular, with those top 4 teams in the East matching up, FAMU, Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, Jackson State, tremendous weekend for FAMU and Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating when you see that rematch. You talk about FAMU, what they've done of late really stands out, but they actually lost 2 of 3 to Bethune-Cookman, the Wildcats. So that second set of 3 games will be fascinating to see what the records are between those 2 teams to see what goes down there. Giving you the updates on Sunday, Jackson State avoids the sweep as Jackson State wins big, bring out the bats and defeat the Wildcats 19-5. FAMU gets it done with the sweep, as you were alluding to. It's a close one, but they get it done, winning big 9-8 in that matchup. Prairie View avoids the sweep, if you would, as they win at home 9-5 to make sure they get an important win. Alabama A&M rebounds and takes the rubber matchup as they defeat Mississippi Valley 15-5. Arkansas Pine Bluff takes the rubber matchup, winning 2 straight, and they defeat Southern 11-6. In terms of that, obviously, what are your thoughts on those particular scores? And then while you're answering that, just again, how big and how do you think that'll play down the stretch with Southern giving 2 of those games away at home?
Well, they're moral, I guess, if you want to look at it from that standpoint, because when you see a team handle LSU the way they did, and then kind of fall back to earth a little bit this weekend, it was just kind of interesting to see that dynamic play out. But kudos to UAPB for going down into Baton Rouge and really slugging it out. I mean, they're batting .315 on the season. I think it was huge. You take a look at Prairie View, they stopped the bleeding in terms of getting that rubber game against Grambling. I think that was huge. Just getting a bounce back win, both for Prairie View and Jackson State. Like I said, once you kind of get on those losing streaks, it's a little bit difficult to turn it around. So to kind of jump on a pitcher and get some momentum going in your direction, going into the following week, I think that's huge for both of those programs. So a lot of great baseball play this past weekend. Like I said, the surprises, FAMU sweeping Alabama State, and of course, UAPB taking 2 or 3 from Southern.
Let's look at the divisions in terms of the records. And this record may be off a game or two because you have those midweek games and sometimes they get counted in the division record, which is not correct. And they correct that at the end of the year. But just for discussion's sakes, starting at the bottom in the East, Mississippi Valley State got a win. Big win for them.
Big win, yeah.
In conference play.
14 runs.
So they're 1-10 in terms of what took place there. Alabama A&M just above them, 3-9 on the season. Alabama State sitting at 5-6, losing record in conference. I'm not sure that hearing much about that. Jackson State is sitting at 7-5. Bethune-Cookman 9-2. Fascinating to see what's going on. And you alluded to FAMU this hot as they sweep Alabama State, pushing them further in the mix where they'll be fighting maybe against Alabama A&M. Remember earlier, Alabama A&M did get a game against Alabama State. So it'll be interesting to see going down the wire, that second set. Will that mean more in that matchup to see who gets in that vaunted 4th seed to be able to make the tournament? But sitting at the top, FAMU 10-2 in terms of the record listing here. What are your thoughts in terms of the East Division? You kind of see it separated, if you would, top 2 programs kind of clearly there. FAMU, Bethune-Cookman, Jackson State right there in the mix. In terms of wins, not too far behind Bethune-Cookman, FAMU, but closer to Alabama State in terms of the loss with 5 and Alabama State with 6. And then you have the bottom there with Alabama A&M sitting at 3-9 and Valley at 1-10.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out for me is the surprising thing, especially at this point in the season, is Alabama State 5-6 in conference play. And the thing that we normally see with Alabama State, their pitching is normally 1 or 2 within the conference, but to see them 4th in the conference, 6.15 ERA, that's very un-Alabama State-like. And I think that has been the biggest surprise when you take a look at why they are where they are, because you look up and down the roster, they still have a lot of bats from what we saw, especially in the SWAC tournament last year, but the pitching just hasn't been there.
Good stuff, good stuff. Let's go to the West, the Wacky West, or the Wild West. I'm not sure which way you see it, but I guess we'll get to hear that. Starting at the bottom, Arkansas State Braves 1-9, as they did get a victory. But Arkansas Pine Bluff got 2 big wins that puts them on the win side, just a game behind Prairie View, but 2 on the loss side as they are 4-9. Prairie View's at 5-7. They avoided that sweep, which gave them a little room for error big at this time of the year. Texas Southern 6-3, sitting in that 3rd spot right now, a game behind Southern. Remember, they've only played 1. 2 of those games got rained out. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to make up any of those games, but certainly the second set of series that we've played here in McGregor Park will be fascinating going down the stretch. Yeah. As Grambling sits at top above Southern at 7-3, Grambling sitting at 9-2. They've been able to really show out with the bats, but third day pitching has been a crux a little bit in terms of them not being able to really separate themselves in a lot of ways from the entire SWAC, particularly in the Western Division. What are your thoughts in terms of the West?
Very interesting series this upcoming weekend with Texas Southern going to UAPB. We're talking about a team that's batting .315 overall in UAPB, and from just a hitting pitching standpoint, Texas Southern comes into this series and their team ERA 9.80. So they're 10th in the conference in terms of pitching. So we'll see if UAPB can get back into sort of the thick of things a little bit over there in the West. I think Grambling and Southern thus far, the way they pound the ball, it's going to be tough for them to kind of fall back to the pack. But just be interesting to see where UAPB can kind of maneuver themselves up the standings a little bit in the West.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see can they take that next step. And we'll certainly get in a little more of that on Thursday when we'll do episode 500. Look forward to seeing some surprises as we do 500. Really momentous for us, and hope all can join and celebrate with us as we cross the threshold of 500 episodes. Charles, any thoughts going into that?
It's a momentous occasion. I mean, 500 episodes. We've been there, done that, seen a lot. Not just within the SWAC, but in the HBCU sporting environment. And I think one of the things that I'm just most proud of is not only are we talking about the sports, but we're talking about the business of the sport and sort of projecting out where things can be and what has happened. And I tell my students all the time, we are just living in fascinating times when you take a look not only at the sporting environment, but the HBCU sporting environment, and to be a part of that landscape. I think that's huge to get 500 episodes.
Well said. That'll do it for us. Thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports. Come from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington. We'll see if he joins us for 500. Where is Santiago? Charles Bishop. We hope you enjoyed the show today. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we'll be back Thursday at 6 for 500. Spread the word. Come check us out and celebrate with us. Look forward to Thursday. Discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil. That's on X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on X. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube and Facebook. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Of course, Charles.
Lecture.
Dismissed.